And as Vin Diesel as this sounds, this is what this movie is all about. It's about family. What's happening, my fellow ghosts and ghostettes? Welcome to a brand new episode of Cosplay Chris, and today we are going to be talking about Ghostbusters Afterlife. I know the film has been out in other countries for quite some time. I had the premiere last week here in Sydney, but officially we are not going to be getting the film as a release until New Year's Day, just because of what's been going on in the world. Release dates for films have been sporadic all over the shop. Case in point, we only got Venom Let There Be Carnage last week here in Australia. So just a heads up, there are going to be major spoilers within this video because I'm going to do an initial review, and then there's been a lot of criticisms with Ghostbusters Afterlife. A lot of people have been saying it relies too much heavily on nostalgia, and is there too much nostalgia in the film? And I will touch on that. But to touch on that, I'm gonna have to go into spoiler territory. So all that out of the way, let's get to it. First and foremost, my initial thoughts on the film. I fucking loved it. I, ugly man, cried at the end, as a lot of people did in the cinema. I had tears streaming down my face with the way they handled the ending, which I will talk about further into the video. But I think it was just the perfect balance. So that also leads me to all the criticisms coming in that there's too much nostalgia. This film heavily relies on nostalgia, and I completely disagree. I think it is the perfect balance and blend of nostalgia, of old and new. This isn't passing the torch on. This is two worlds coming together, two generations coming together now of Ghostbusters. I think the cast is so well done. They all work together so well. Obviously the standout for me was McKenna Grace as Phoebe. She just crushed it. She carried the entire film. I loved her. I loved her character. I loved everything about it. I loved her passion and her drive, and obviously the connection that she has with her grandfather. And the fact that you've got Jason Reitman, son of Ivan Reitman, who directed the original Ghostbusters, helming the director's chair with his father by his side the entire time. Like literally bring your dad to work day every day. That is wonderful. It's keeping it in the family. And as Vin Diesel as this sounds, this is what this movie is all about. It's about family. Now, honing back to the cast, they all work well. They all get ample amounts of screen time. I think Paul Rudd's character was utilized very well. I thought it was just going to be thrown in there because he's just Paul Rudd and he's the sexiest man alive, as we know. But I really dug his character. I thought he was great. He works well with the kids, and it's just, he's a big kid in the film. My only gripe about the screen time of the characters is at one point I forgot that Finn Wolfhard was in it. I'm like, oh yeah, he's in it. The scenes where he goes off with his new work colleagues and they're partying and stuff like that. And he was gone for quite some time. And there is a point in the movie in the middle where it kind of dips and it kind of slows down and things take a back seat for a bit. And that is when Finn's character Trevor disappears, but then he comes back. I'm like, oh shit, that's right, okay. And then the momentum keeps going again. We build back up and then we get to the good stuff and the final act of the film. Now, talking about the final act of the film, again, major spoilers ahead. So we pretty much knew from day one that Dan Aykroyd, Bill Murray, Ernie Hudson, and there were murmurs of Sigourney Weaver coming back for a cameo. I was hoping it wouldn't be one of those things where you blink and you miss them. Case in point, the 2016 film. Now, obviously, I have my issues with that film, but I still stand by the fact that the ensemble cast, those four women, work perfectly together. They were very funny together, just not in the world of Ghostbusters. If that had been called something else and been about something else, would have been great. Very much in the vein of Bridesmaids, the way they work together and their chemistry. I loved it, but just not a Ghostbusters film at all. And obviously, Bill Murray, Ernie Hudson, and Dan Aykroyd had their cameos in it. Granted, Ernie Hudson's cameo was a little bit more longer than Bill Murray's and Dan Aykroyd's, but they weren't even really playing themselves. It was just really on the nose and cringy, to be honest. And I hate using the word cringy, but it was. You got Dan Aykroyd there in a taxi being like, I ain't afraid of no ghost. Like, come on, man. But in Ghostbusters Afterlife, they're back as their respectable characters from the OG films. So with the end climax of the film, you've got Gozer back along with the Terror Dogs, which is just fantastic to see. Again, it's not trying to rehash and revitalize what worked in the original 84 film. It's been like, hey, these things still exist and we're going to utilize that, but in a smart way. Not forced down your throat, just in a way that hits those nostalgic beats, but something new at the same time. So with that, Ray arrives with Peter and Winston to aid the Spanglers and their friends, but Gozer overpowers them by countering the Ghostbusters tactics. So that's what I love. It's just like, hey, I've seen you do this shit before back in '84. Don't try and fool me. It gets to the point where Phoebe herself battles Gozer, and then again, major spoilers, Ghosts and Ghostheads, the ghost of Egon materializes right beside his granddaughter to help. That is when I ugly cried. I just thought it was so sweet and so cool. And that theme of Egon's always been there. He's always been there helping out. Little things that you see throughout the film and things that happen. It's been Egon in the background. He's just been giving little hints and everything. It's like playing a game where you get the little hint down the bottom of what to do. That was Egon throughout the film. Now at the beginning of the film, we did see flashes of what looked like Egon, and that was a stand-in. What is his name? So the actor is named Bob Gunton. He stood in for Harold Ramis at the beginning of the film, where we see him as human form before he meets his demise at the beginning of the film. And it's very well shot. You don't see his full face, just in the shadows, sides of his face. But it's pretty obvious that this is supposed to be Harold Ramis. Towards the end of Harold Ramis' life, he had that big, beautiful, fluffy fro hair. It was all grey, and the actor that they got for it matched it pretty damn well. And yeah, Egon unfortunately meets his demise at the hands of a ghost at the beginning of the film, but then we see him materialized as a ghost at the end of the film, helping his granddaughter and his family and the rest of his old crew. And it's not overly done. It's not dragged out. It's so quick and flowed so well with the flashes and glimpses we see of Egon. You know, he gives everyone one last goodbye and smile and then floats away. And that's when my tears were just like uncontrollable. And I was doing the cry in the cinema where you're jiggling like a paint mixer. Now in the mid-credit scene, we do see Sigourney Weaver back as Dana playing with Venkman's card game, which is very cool to see the two of them back together. Now in the post-credit scene, we find out that Winston is apparently very wealthy from investing in the Ghostbusters brand, and we also see the Ecto-1 heading back to New York for repairs and then comes into the original fire station. And then in a final shot, a warning light is seen blinking in the firehouse, which is very cool. So again, it's left it open for a sequel. I am so down for the OG crew coming back along with the Spangler family. Because you got Phoebe, you got Trevor, you got Podcast. They were ghostbustering the shit out of stuff in the film. It was so cool to see. They worked so well together. And that's where I'm saying no, there is not too much nostalgia in this film. It is not relying on nostalgia or Easter eggs or throwbacks. Granted, yes, there are Easter eggs and throwbacks in this film, but it needed it. It needs to catch people up to speed and be like, hey, this is what happened. This is what's happening now, where we're mixing an old generation with a new generation. They're coming together. There's no passing of the torch. It's more or less generations colliding at its finest. And I think it's such a wonderful film. I love the care that was taken with Harold Ramis and his character of Egon. I'm sure his daughter would have been very, very proud. There's this meme of Jason Reitman. It's just a photo of him, and it's just like making grown men cry since 2021. I totally agree with that. It left me feeling so warm and so good when I was coming out of the cinema. I haven't felt that way by watching a film in a very long time in terms of being emotionally moved. So hats off to the Reitman family, hats off to the cast and crew of Ghostbusters Afterlife. You guys absolutely crushed it. Granted, it did have its problems in the middle of the film where things slowed down a bit in terms of pacing, but fuck man, I couldn't care less about that. And with that, I'm gonna be giving a Ghostbusters Afterlife 4.5 geeks out of 5. So guys, I know this review is probably very, very late. The film has been out in the States for a couple of weeks now. I had the premiere last week here in Sydney, with thank you to the Movie Nerds and Sony Pictures Australia for inviting us. And then also, we don't officially get the film here until New Year's Day, but you know, it has been circulating, reviews have been circulating. So again, I wanted to do this video, but I just didn't want to do a spoiler-free review. I wanted to do, you know, my review and also just discuss the fact that people have been saying there's too much nostalgia, too much reliance on Easter eggs and fan service. No, it is the perfect balance in my opinion. So guys, drop a comment below. Let me know your thoughts on Ghostbusters Afterlife. Was it everything you wanted, or did you have mixed feelings about it? So thanks very much for watching, guys. Now today I'm finishing up the Hydra Stomper custom collectible. I'm gonna start editing all that footage together. If you see right there, I've got the Big Wally pop vinyl. I'm gonna be doing a custom collectible on him and making him all rusty and just really screen accurate. I'm really excited for that. Usually I'm not the biggest pop vinyl guy, but I walked into Zing the other day at my local Westfield and I had to have him. I go, oh man, I love Wally, so I'm very excited about that. We're going to be working with a lot of layering in terms of building up a nice rust effect and corroding and stuff like that, so that's going to be a lot of fun. Guys, wherever you're on the world, have yourselves an absolute cracker of a day. I hope you're well, hope you're happy, be merry, be silly. And until next time, Ghosts and Ghostettes, please always remember, cosplayers do it best.